Welcome to Life Talk with Mariette. I am Mariette. This show is about the life lessons that shape us, what I've learned, what I'm still learning, and how we grow through challenge, awareness, and purpose. I will share personal insights to motivate and inspire you, and sometimes invite guests who do the same. At its heart, Life Talk is about real stories, real growth, and meaningful connection. This is Life Talk with Mariette. Motivational, inspirational, full of heart. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Life Talk with Mariette. I'm your host, Mariette Camera. And today's topic is feeling joy, the thrill of treasure hunting. And let's get right into the show. It's my own story, and I'm looking back very fondly of these times. We're going back to the 70s, which isn't that long ago. It seems to me like it was yesterday. So let's get right into the story. Back in the 1970s, I worked at Xerox Credit in Greenwich, Connecticut. I was 7 years into my marriage. My daughter Heidi was in first or second grade. We had just bought a nice house in New Milford, Connecticut, and were proud homeowners. I loved decorating my own walls, finally. We had rented previously, and I always decorated. I always had a passion for decorating, but now I could decorate my own walls. So I was very happy about that. We had previously spent some years living in Germany, and we brought back some treasures from there, which were a couple of wall clocks, irons, pocket watches, and items that gave us joy. Now, I lived in New Milford, Connecticut in the 1970s. 76, we bought the home till about 1989. New Milford was at the time a very rural area, about 20 years behind in development, salaries, and opportunities compared to lower Fairfield County. A lot of New Yorkers would come up on the weekends and even had weekend homes around Kent area, and it still is like that and more. So I love the country on weekends to explore Route 7 shops or the other direction up to Lake Warmonk. I just love that area and have very, very happy times, especially the inns around Lake Warmonk. I just loved it so much. And I still love it up to this day, but I haven't really been up in that area. I haven't toured the area, my favorite places, in quite a while, because I'm always working and getting busy. And when I'm not busy, I like to relax. You know how it is. So, but I spend real happy times doing what I loved doing. And I just sat down today and I wrote everything out, and that's what the show is all about. It's about your own memories that still give you joy up to this day, and it's giving me immense pleasure. So I got to tell you a few stories. So I spend an hour each way to make a living at that time, an hour to Greenwich every day, an hour back every single day, 5 days a week. And I did that for 10 years. And I tell you, never again. That wasn't easy. You needed a new car every 2 years. That's number one. But since 1984, I started a home office. So you do what you need to do at the time and for whatever purpose it was at the time. And I mean specifically the commute. A lot of people are still on the road commuting, and they're constantly traveling from and to work. I've done it, so I know what you're going through, and I did it too for 10 years. Okay. So now the area started changing slowly with Union Carbide moving into the area in 1983-ish. But I had always determined that I could not live the rest of my younger years there. I just knew that. And I ended up moving and working in Hamburg, Germany from 1989 through 2000. I have a reason to tell you all of this. we could never catch up um, with the prices of Lower Fairfield County. It was just never enough. It was impossible. Now the area is totally, it's totally different, but I can't get into that. That's not part of the show. So, because it's about really what gave me joy. And here it goes. Now, I always loved antiques and collectibles. They brought me joy. Now, I'm not an antique dealer. I don't have the knowledge of an antique dealer. To me, I don't have to have a certain knowledge to to have joy. So, but that's the arena I was in. So what I did, I opened a small antique business. It was one room, a huge room, in an old Grange Hall. And probably some of you will remember the Bittersweet Shop in Gaylordsville. It has now closed for whatever reason, I don't know. But I was one of their first tenants up on the second floor. I think I paid 75 or $95 a month rent. And on weekends, I would go to country auctions in New York. It wasn't far from the Bittersweet Shop. And Joe, the auctioneer, was actually a farmer and he ran auctions on weekends. And we would sit in one of them buildings, with folding chairs, and his wife had always homemade cakes. They were the best. Hot dogs that smelled heavenly. Hot dog and the buns and the mustard. And it just, you felt like you're walking into a family and there was excitement. And they were both, Joe's kids were involved in there too, helping with moving and selling the antiques. But Joe was the auctioneer. And Saturday night, 7 o'clock, I couldn't wait to get there. I would go there myself um, uh, because my husband at the time, he wasn't into any of this. I would always sit in the front row, and Joe would start off with the LOT boxes, lot boxes. And what a lot box was at that time, it had all kinds of junk in it, probably from people that had a household, people got rid of things, or an estate sale, and they just put the junkier, less valuable items in a box, like a banana box. So, and he had that right in front of him. So that always went first. And since I was sitting in the front row, sometimes I looked through the boxes to see if I would bid on it. And most of the time, I just started bidding. Okay, who would give me $20? And nobody raised their hand. And I would say, I give you $1. And Joe would say, I am so glad you came today. I'm so glad you're here today. Of course, he was being funny. And that really got the bidding going. It started with laughter, and before you know, he was at $30 for a box that nobody knew what was in it. It was fun. So, but it got the bidding going, and it was just a real fun night. And you ended up with things very reasonable. We had a lot of New Yorkers come, a lot of private people from New York, but also people that were in the antique business. So they came. And Joe knew how to treat people. So the thrill wasn't just in buying, it was in finding something special. Every new item I bought and brought home, meaning to the store, which was just a huge room in the Bittersweet Shop, I had to redecorate the store. So when you have just one room, when you bring in a couple of pieces of furniture or other items, you do need to redecorate. You can't just slap it in and throw it on the floor. I had it very, very sophisticately decorated. No, that's how it was. And especially these small items, I made a huge wall and I would put them, on the wall, very tastefully decorated. What are you going to do with all these little things? You can't, it's impossible. So anyway, so it was my way of expressing myself, not for profit, for joy. Joy you can't buy. Joy you have to develop and feel inside. Life without joy is a sad situation, and we have enough of that. Life is hard. Life is challenging. Being self motivated is not easy. And at some point, you run out of joy. It's true. The joy is gone. And then I say, well, let me write down what I'm grateful for. And this is true. This is really true. It's not just something I'm filling the airtime with. It's so true. I have to go through this exercise because I'm not exempt for, running low or having no joy. Absolutely. But I am aware of it. So what I'm grateful for that I have my health after my stroke. I survived a stroke. So this is all true, what I'm telling you, and that I can still help myself and be independent. That's why I can really feel gratefulness. So if you're off, go back to right into that. And I know what works for me. So and then I can always develop a new page. What would give me joy going forward? Well, at that time, and going back to the story, it was selling, finding new things that gave me joy and putting it into the store. But when I sold a piece that I really loved, it made me happy. It made me happy to know that someone else saw the joy I felt in it. That was really great. Beautiful findings. What sticks with me is I remember the old real baby carriage, all made out of wood. I think the body was out of I forgot what the body wicker. It was out of wicker and had huge but very delicate wooden wheels. That was a real baby carriage. That was old. I remember that. I had that for a while, but it did sell. Now I remember an octagon, beautiful table, something you would put in a corner. It wasn't, a small. It was, you could actually fit four people around it. That's how big it was. I don't know the diameter, but an octagon, very beautifully carved on the side. Then I remember a hand forged weather vane that I got on a Saturday and it was gone on Monday or Tuesday. It just a weather vane hand forged. I remember that. The Victrola was a big deal. Of course, the phones, the wall phones were a big deal. And different pieces of furniture with marble and mirrors and the glass and porcelain pieces and so much more. I can't even tell you. But what I loved around the season, I would decorate the store, especially for the holidays, and I would find handmade items. Remember the Holly Hobby figure? Well, I got beautiful Holly Hobby dolls. They were maybe 3 inches or 4 inches tall. They were red and white, and you could hang them on your tree. And of course, I didn't have a Christmas tree in my store. I had a branch, which was very nice for display. So between the Holly Hobby dolls, which were really eye-catching, and they sold like hotcakes at that time, I had the handmade out of cookie dough figurines. They were painted exquisitely. You remember those, right? That was a big thing for a while, the handmade dough, and they would last for a few years, but then they would crack and everything. But they were in at that time. But I had so much joy going with the season, whether it was Easter or Christmas and who knows what other events we have during the year. Well, I went with it. I couldn't wait to get home, change my clothes, and would go to the store. Now, I had one disadvantage, but I didn't look at it as a disadvantage. uh, I had a full-time job in Greenwich, Connecticut, and this was a hobby. And the owners, they both had the entire first floor. Gail and Mark was their name. She very tragically died through an illness, and he ran the store for many, many years after that, Mark. And they had the advantage of knowing what people were looking for, the people that came into their store. So, and much later, they opened up the entire second floor and built different booths for antique dealers, rental spaces. But I was one of their first original. Anyway, so, and there was a certain smell in that Grange Hall. Shiplap walls, very thin walls. It was a Grange Hall. So, and it had a certain, and especially during the summer, uh, everything the building would squeak, and especially when you walked up to the second floor, oh, every you could feel you could never just sneak into the building because the wood would give you away. Every step would give you away, you know. But I also made friends with a great lady. Her name is Rosemary, very very nice lady, a face white as a sheet, and she had short blonde hair, and she looked real pale all the time. But she was one of my first customers, and I became friends with her. And she collected antique clothing and also antique clothing for dolls. So she had a weekend home in Kent, coming from New York City, and that was just she had an executive position in New York City, and that was her passion going out in the country. And her house was full. Her house in Kent was full of clothing and very exquisite. I wasn't into it, but I appreciated, what she was in. And she was also so passionate about what she was doing. Very nice, very nice memories. So that connection was also priceless. I think we went on a couple of um, um, auctions and yeah, and other things. So my profession has always involved selling intangibles, ideas, experiences, guidance. But antiques, treasures, they they were tangible. So I could touch them, feel them, and share them with others. But first, it originated with me having an interest in decorating my home and living with certain treasures, I call them. And that could be a $5 tin frying pan that I had hanging in my kitchen with a little rust on it. And I remember when my parents came to visit us from Germany, they just shook their heads and, what are you doing with all this junk in your house in this new home? But I didn't care. Hey, it's part of expressing yourself. So, but it gave me a completely different kind of satisfaction. In my kitchen, you could find the old tins, the frying pans, and to me, that's authenticity. If there's a little rust on it too, I didn't care. The thrill still is there on my part today, but it's focused. It's intentional. And what I mean by that, I don't go to Goodwill or go to the fairs, just looking around, see what catches my eye. I will not make an extra trip to go to a fair or just because they're there and people are selling. No, today, what's inside of me, I go with intentions. Such when I moved from Europe, I needed a lot of stuff. So Goodwill was a great source. I got everything there, and you should see the treasures I got. And over time, I got all my furnishing, very good stuff. So, unless I absolutely need something, what I still have an interest, but not the wall space, is big, large canvas pictures. I love them. I love pictures and also dividers. I only have one divider, but I could use another one. But I still love finding these things, but I make an extra trip um, and look for it. And then I leave. And you always leave with other stuff too. You know that I'm not exempt to that. So, and I do have to say, I have to throw this in. I can't leave the show without telling you. I was married at the time, going back to the 70s when I lived in the house when I had the store. So my husband at the time, he didn't share my joy. He hated stopping at tag sales unless he felt like it. He hated carrying the furniture up to the second floor after that Saturday night after I bought it at the auction because I needed help. I needed another pair of hands to carry it up to the second floor. So, such as dressers, whatever. Now, he hated a lot of things, like mowing the lawn as well. Uh, don't buy a house then, or pay someone to cut, just pay somebody to cut the grass. Now, this has been a long time ago. This is not a poke to for my ex-husband, not at all. We're on good terms. But I'm just telling you, you can be with somebody that doesn't share the joy. But um, what I very quickly put into life when we went places. I asked very politely if I had an item that I wanted to buy, such as a fare, if they would take $20 instead of the asking $40 price. And he hated that, especially when I got the deal. And most of the time, it was how I was asking. And I always asked very politely. And he started scolding me afterwards and said that I embarrassed him. I embarrassed him because he couldn't do what I was able to do. So, but over time he watched me succeed, and little by little he started doing it too. And when he finally got a deal himself, he felt his own success. So that's what I'm saying. He scolded me because I politely asked, and the people say, yes, I will sell it to you for $20. It's how you ask. And folks, asking for something, that's a natural in me. And do not touch that department. And he did. And obviously, after 13 years, we're no longer together because you don't touch somebody who does something, who has good skills and talents, and you feel embarrassed because they're asking because you wouldn't do it, or you feel you're begging for it. You got to step aside. You got to step aside and leave the person alone. So, and if you're impressed by it, you start practicing it, and maybe you will not achieve that, but leave it alone. A lot of people have problems with a lot of stuff, but don't touch what the other one does good. And if you're embarrassed, stay home. That's all. So I wouldn't tolerate this today. That's off limits. So anyway, the memories I've made through treasure hunting, those weekends, the auctions, the tag sales are lovely. They're full of joy, mischief, fun, and a sense of belonging to something simple and real. It's a part of my life I will always treasure. Can I let go of some of the things I've collected? Yes, yes, I can. But not my La Crusette pots. They are new and very costly. Those stay. And I tell you why they're staying too. You get it in a moment. Even now, I still catch myself cooking in my mind for 10 or more people. I'm not doing that anymore. Not that I always cooked for 10 people, but I always entertained. Sometimes maybe it was 10 people, but it was not an ongoing thing every weekend. Absolutely not. But just the feeling of having large pots, large platters, gives me a wonderful feeling of just being with a lot of people. Truthfully, I don't have the time or the energy it would take. But the thought still feels right. It still brings warmth. Maybe it's the dream of always having people gathered around. Full plates, full hearts. Maybe it's a wish that never quite left me. And you know what? That's okay too. That's just okay. Because some dreams don't have to be fulfilled to be real. They can simply live quietly in our hearts, reminding us of who we are and what brings us joy. Till next time, I'm Mariette Kammer. Follow and like us, and I talk to you real soon. You find your joy, and you feel your joy. Be well.